Meets trained certified technician to the state-of-the-art Daikin units we install. Daikin systems come with a trustworthy 12-year parts warranty. Commander Air has 3 generations of trust built on dependability, knowledge, and outstanding service. Come check out our new AC showroom at the intersection of Highway 29 and 9 Mile Road. Commander Air, your hometown heating and cooling specialist for 3 generations.
Business owners of Escambia and Santa Rosa counties, listen to this important message.
This is Jeffrey, the marketing consultant for ESPN, News Radio 92.3, and Talk Radio WEBY. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people just like you increase their business traffic and drive revenue into their doors. My service works. I design creative, attention-getting commercials that get results. It works for them and will work for you. I know what you're thinking. No one listens to commercials, right? Well, you just did. Call me, Jeffrey, 262-6000.
Sports is live and local every Saturday from 11 to 1.
Kawhi, him and his free agency, or him just sitting around waiting to sign with the team, had a lot to do with more than just the Lakers. There were other teams that were tied into this trade as well to determine their next moves. And for the Lakers, they still haven't finalized the Anthony Davis deal.
Sports Call with Jordan Glass and Davis Allen on your radio, on Facebook, and YouTube.
Southern California basketball is going to be what everybody's paying attention to this upcoming season.
At ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 94.5. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brillante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
All sports, all the time. ESPN Pensacola, 94.5 WYCT Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT, and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. I'm Jordan Glass, joined alongside me as always, Coach K. And as we get you going on this Monday morning, do want to remind you, SEC Media Days for all you SEC football fans out there has officially started. As we look at the TV here in the studio, Greg Sankey currently at the podium. We'll also have Missouri, Florida, and LSU throughout the day. So that's going to be Coach Odom, Coach Mullen, and Coach Orgeron going to be up at the podium as well. And you better believe we'll have a recap of it coming up later on this afternoon at 5 p.m. on the Sports Drive. Myself and Chad Brillante will be keeping you up to date with anything that's said and talked about and done throughout the course of the day. But, Coach, I want to start off here taking a look at some of the headlines from around the world of football. Coach, it looks like Jadeveon Clowney and the Houston Texans will be unable to come to a deal by today's 4 p.m. Eastern Time deadline. So that's going to be 3 o'clock local time. Coach, this is a situation where they did place a franchise tag on him. There's no work of a trade deal in place, but, Coach, just one of those situations where Houston needed to get Jadeveon Clowney signed because he's a anchor there for their front seven along with J.J. Watt. But, Coach, you take a look at it. Looks like they're going to be unable to get this deal done. Where do they go from here?
Okay, a little background information that I picked up on just this past weekend. They're not going to do a deal with him. He's going to play under the franchise tag or he's not going to play. And the reason that there's some skepticism there is because his work ethic does not match his talent level. And they're a little concerned about that. And they're concerned about it in more than one way. It has affected, I understand. They may feel like it's contagious, could be contagious in their locker room. So they want to make a point here with Jadeveon Clowney. Now, he's a good football player, but he's been inconsistent. He has not lived up to totally what he's capable of doing. On again, off again, which we heard some of in South Carolina, to be quite honest with you, when he was there. Spurrier even let a couple of things slip, and then he tried to take them back, put them back in the bottle. It didn't work too well. But anyway, that's the deal, and I don't think you're going to see anything done unless there's a tremendous reversal in thought by their head coach and those people that do the contracts. So look for him either to now he's loved with his work ethic. He's loving this opportunity to sit out of camp. You can bet on that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him sit out of camp, not go to camp, show up. He can show up to Tuesday before the first ball game and get his $1 million paycheck. So that's what I expect him to do.
All right, Coach, and some other news from around the league. This is not necessarily new news. It came out last week, but Coach, looking to the whole situation of extending the NFL season to 18 games. That is 2 more regular season games. Coach, the Players Association, the players not necessarily a fan of this rule. Coach, you look at this, and I think a lot of fans would look at it and go, well, what's wrong with playing 2 more games? It's 2 more football games we get to enjoy during the course of the season.
Yeah, well, it's not going to fly with the players, and they're trying to get a CBA done now, and that's one of the sticking points. But it's good for the NFL because they can relent rather easily on this subject. Okay, let's take a break it down. With the number of injuries, and they have all the statistics. You play 2 more games, they got it broken down to the minutes that you're on the field. And what the chances are of another injury or a serious injury, okay? Also, they're going to want to get paid even more in comparison to what they're getting paid in the 16 games because they're taking the extra chance that they'll get hurt, okay? Now, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk and compromise. Here's the other thing you're looking at with this whole scenario. Preseason games are they're going to go by the wayside one way or the other. They're going to be cut dramatically. Now, what they're talking about is cutting the preseason games to 3 and playing 17 games and negotiating a 1 additional game. They've even talked about with the 18 games. Now, this is kind of ridiculous. With the 18 games, but players only have to play 16. Meaning that you would carry enough players that you could sit your players at different times during the year to only allow your players to play 16 games, meaning your left tackle. 2 games there somewhere, you're going to have another left tackle. What about your quarterback? A different quarterback for 2 games. So that's one, I think, avenue that they're going down just to for the benefit of negotiation with the players. I think may end up with 3 preseason, 17 regular season games, and it's going to cost a lot of money and they're not going to be obviously not. They're going to be losing some money to boot with the preseason game, and then the additional cost is going to be quite significant.
All right, Coach. Now, when you look at that with the 17, if they do go to that method of 3 preseason games, 17 regular season games, Coach, how does that do they just push everything back as far as the postseason? Do they just push that back a week, or is that how does that affect everything as far as playing out through the postseason with an extended regular season?
Well, they'll work that out. That's not going to be a major problem. They've also talked about 2 bye weeks. They've talked about extending the playoffs by 1 team per division, per conference, which would give them an extra game there and eliminate a preseason game. So I don't know what they're going to end up with. They're probably going to end up with some formula there, but I don't think it will be giving up 2 preseason games and adding 2 regular season games. It's too complicated.
All right, Coach, let's move on now to some college football. As we did discuss at the top of the show, it is SEC Media Days. We're about 40 days away from the start of the 2019 season when Florida and Miami take on each other in Orlando there at Camping World Stadium. Coach, want to take a look at Sports Illustrated has a list of top 100 players in college football for the 2019 season. Now, while we're not going to look at all 100, we are going to take a look at the top 20 here because there's a lot of SEC talent inside that top 20 list. So, Coach, we'll get it started here. He's not an SEC player, but he's a household name by now, and he's only heading into his sophomore season. Coach, talking about Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, absolutely. You know, this guy's a once-in-a-generation type talent. And you're going to have teams fighting over him. Any team would be more than happy to have him. I don't care who you are. But he is absolutely the best player in America, in my opinion.
All right, Coach, moving on here. No surprise who's next on the list at number 2, Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, by that one. I certainly think between those two quarterbacks, they'll be the first two to go next year in the draft. And two outstanding quarterbacks that have really come along at a very strange time where two of that magnitude have come along at the same time.
All right, Coach, moving on to number 3, you've got Wisconsin running back Jonathan Taylor. Coach, is the guy, ran for almost 2,200 yards on the season last year, averaged about 7 yards per carry. Coach, this is a big-time running back, and you look at what Wisconsin likes to do. They always seem to have a guy like this in their backfield that is just one of those impressive running backs in college football.
Yeah, let me tell you what the one downside may be with him. He's an outstanding back. There's no doubt about that. And different teams will value this differently in the draft. But he carried the ball 330-something times last year. Now, if he carries the ball that many times again this year, and could be more, how much has he used of his available strength and ability to run with the football? How much has he lost? You know, that is a pounding. I don't care if it's college or high school or certainly pro. You can't run that many times and not have some lingering effects. Now, they may not be all that visible, but there's muscle fatigue, there's joint problems that arise, any number of things that come from that many carries. So just a word to the wise, there could be some pro teams that look at those carries and say, "Boy, not bringing in somebody with worn tires."
All right, Coach. Well, we had Tua at number 2, and we've got a guy that he's going to be relying on heavily coming up next at number 4 here on this list. You've got Alabama receiver Jerry Jeudy, and Coach, this is going to be a guy that arguably could be the best receiver in college football this upcoming year. Definitely a guy that could be in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony, joining Tua at that ceremony. Coach, Jerry Jeudy is just one of those special talented receivers that honestly it seems like Alabama just continues to replace one talented receiver with an even better receiver.
Right, and they've got two with both Jeudy and Waddle. This year is a good example. You're right. But this Jerry Jeudy is something special. I think he could be in the top 3 overall. Maybe the 2 quarterbacks and him. As the top 3 players, I think that could easily be, and you may see it in the draft. I think he's going to be certainly talked about as a top 5 draft pick.
All right, Coach. How about coming up next? Staying inside the state of Alabama, staying in the SEC, we go to Auburn. Defensive lineman Derek Brown, a guy that we've talked about several times here on the show, Coach, whether we've taken a look at players projecting next year's 2020 draft and a way too early 2020 draft look. But, Coach, Derek Brown's one of those guys that's 6'5", 318 pounds. That is a big defensive tackle, but that's exactly what you expect coming from the SEC, and he's going to be one of the top defensive players inside the country.
Well, he is, and people still say that he can do both. Defensive tackle, defensive end. He's that good a football player. Some people are equating him to Donald. He doesn't have the same body type. I don't see that, but I think he could play either position, which is very unusual. Great player.
And the fun thing about Derek Brown is we'll get to see him go up against two of the top quarterbacks in the country. Actually, all three, with Jake Fromm, Tua Tagovailoa, and Justin Herbert, as Oregon and Auburn will get the season started there week 1 of the year. Coach, number 6, LSU safety Grant Delpit, another guy that we have talked about a lot when looking towards the 2020 mock drafts. And, Coach, this is a guy that this LSU team, if they're going to be as good as a lot of people are talking about them being, and they have the potential to be, he's going to be a guy that they have to rely on in the defensive backfield.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And, we talked about that LSU defense, and they're loaded. They really got a talented offensive team, too. But that defense has got to be in the top 5, and maybe in the top 3 in the country, maybe the top in the country. They're that good. They're going to be extremely difficult to beat. So look out for LSU. And he is, obviously, I've not talked to. The only thing I've heard mention is they get the great safety down at LSU. So, that implies that scouts think he's outstanding. So I have not heard any detail other than that. I know he fits all the picture from a size standpoint, speed, toughness, smarts. You got to have a guy who's got a little smart to play back there because you got to make all those, all the calls.
All right, Coach. Now heading back to the offensive side of the ball at number 7, you've got Clemson running back Travis Etienne, and Coach, this is a guy who was a big part of their national title run last year. Had a heck of a game against Alabama's defense, and that's for a running back. That's a statement to make when you can say that you had a pretty good game against Alabama's front 7.
What it is, and he is a good back. And Lord, he's got the talent around him.
Yep.
With the quarterback who's going to keep people off him. They can't. They're not going to want to put 8 down in that box too much with a quarterback like they have. So that helps him, and he is a good back. I can see why he'd be in the top 5 or 6.
All right, Coach, moving at number 8, you've got a guy that you look at any offense that's led by Jeff Brom as the coach of that team. And, Coach, you know that the receiver position is going to be big time. No surprise here at number 8, you've got Purdue receiver Rondell Moore.
Yeah, and Brom's done a heck of a job with that football team. And I think he's got some talent at both the quarterback and receiver position. I don't have an in-depth report on him, but I know he's got to be they got to feel very good about their receivers up there. So obviously they've got one rated pretty high.
All right, Coach, and then coming in at number 9, you've got Ohio State defensive lineman Chase Young. Coach, this is a guy that we talked about, Derek Brown, a moment ago from Auburn. This is a guy that's going to be pushing him and rivaling him as that top defensive lineman taken in next year's 2020 draft.
Yeah, and we've talked about him, so we can certainly buy that. He's mentioned by the scouts. He's mentioned by all the preseason polls. So we know what he can do.
All right, Coach, and rounding out the top 10 here, we've got Alabama defensive lineman Raekwon Davis.
Yeah, more and more about him. More people like him, Jordan. I think he's probably got a chance to go higher than that, depending on what happens during the year.
All right, Coach. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take our first time out. When we come back, we will be taking a look at players 11 through 20 right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Organizing most of your things doesn't have to mean spending most of your money. At the Home Depot's Pack Store Save event, get a variety of storage options from Sterilite starting as low as $4.98. Large and tough, clear and colorful, tightly sealed and water resistant. Whatever you need to store, however you want to store it, today is the day for doing. The Pack Store Save event, only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid until August 25th while supplies last.
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Hey, are you just gonna stand there and let people not give you credit for being a good driver? You deserve discounts on car insurance, and that's what Snapshot from Progressive is for. So why aren't you signing up? You need music to get pumped? Hit it! Drum solo! Ow, that hurts my fingers. Ow, ow, ow.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California, North Carolina, or from all agents.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every dollar spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
On this Monday, July 15th, welcome back into Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola 94.5. I'm Jordan Glass, joined alongside me as always, Coach K. And Coach, real quick before we get back into the list that we were talking about, we were just discussing this before we came back from the break. SEC Media Days got started today, and obviously Coach Odom is at the podium right now for the Tigers, but Coach, there's been a lot of love from the people on the SEC Network talking about Missouri and how good they're going to be this year. As a matter of fact, Laura Rutledge, before Greg Sankey took to the podium, actually made the statement that she expects them to be 8-0 or could see them to be 8-0 heading into the game against Georgia. And, Coach, we were talking about this. They have a lot coming back, and I think that's what a lot of people are looking at for this. But, Coach, you and I have both talked about this before, and the fact that they're losing Drew Lock and they're going to have to replace him. Kelly Bryant's more of a mobile quarterback who's going to use his legs more so than his arm. Coach, I don't know if Kelly Bryant's a good enough quarterback to fill that void that's going to be left open by Drew Lock.
Well, there's no question about that. You know, you're talking about two absolute opposites. You're talking about a guy that is a very proficient quarterback, passing quarterback, the old Bill, in Lock. And now you go to a guy who's not really a quarterback. He's more of a running back who's in an old single wing tailback position. Basically, is what it amounts to. Now maybe they're going to run over everybody. Maybe they're just going to line up and run over everybody. I'm going to doubt it. And I'm going to tell you what. I'll eat that book if they're 8-0 when they go to Georgia. That won't happen either. But they're a good football team. They've got a lot of people coming back. They're probably going to be a little better than maybe people thought, a little better than maybe I thought early on looking at them. It's just that change at quarterback, too, means so much. And when you change from one to another with such a drastic change, something's got to give. And I don't believe it's going to be being better. It's going to mean you got to give something.
All right, Coach. Well, speaking of quarterbacks, and this is a quarterback who could have been in the NFL draft last year or this past season, and would have been probably the number one overall quarterback in that class, but decides to come back for his senior year. Coach sitting at number 11 on the Sports Illustrated Top 100 list of college football players heading into 2019. you've got Oregon's quarterback Justin Herbert. And, Coach, for a guy that we look at a lot of mock drafts and he's sitting there right there at the number 1 spot, it's kind of odd to see him falling all the way down to number 11.
Yeah, it is. But I think there's some uncertainty about the guy maybe. He didn't become the starter until after, 2 or 3 ball games last year. Had a heck of a year, and by many, and we've talked to some people who really, really like the kid. We know that he's going to be a high-round draft pick. We've talked to some people who say he'll be the number 1 quarterback who will be drafted this year. Now, that would include Tua, and it would include Fromm, should he come out. Does not include Lawrence at Clemson. He's got another year to go. But there's a lot of praise for this kid, and we're going to get to see him in that first opening ball game against Auburn, big game. So I don't know. It's a little unusual. I'd have to think he's probably higher than that, just based on what we've heard.
All right, Coach, how about next on the list at number 12, we move to the receiver position. You've got Colorado receiver Laviska Shenault Jr. This is a guy that racked up over 1,000 yards receiving last year, and he did miss 3 games on the year. But, Coach, still a dynamic player there for the Colorado Buffaloes. And, Coach, he's on the list at number 12. One of those guys that, while he does play in the Pac-12, not a guy we hear a lot about around this area of the country when it comes to college football. But, Coach, I expect when it comes to Senior Bowl time, NFL Combine time, when it gets to that part of the offseason next year, this is going to be a guy we're talking about quite a bit.
Well, it probably will be, but right now I'm not that familiar with him at all. I just know he's there. I know he's supposed to be a good receiver, but I don't have any feel for him whatsoever.
All right, Coach, moving on now to number 13. It's Justin Herbert's teammate at Oregon, the offensive tackle, Penei Sewell. He is sitting here at number 13, Coach, our first offensive lineman on the list.
Yeah, and let's see, we did talk about him, and I think I did talk to one person about him, and I've not heard anything, let's put it this way, I've not heard anything that would question where he's rated right there on that board. So let's just move on. I don't see any reason to make too much comment about him.
All right, Coach. How about Iowa defensive end A.J. Epineza? Coach, this is a guy who's going to be look, Iowa's one of those tough physical teams. They want to be built on the offensive line and the defensive line. They like to be built from the lines out. And as we've talked about, Coach, that's the way you build a successful football program is you get a guy who can rush the passer on the defensive line, you get a guy who can protect the passer on the offensive line, and then you go get a quarterback. Iowa's going to be built from the offense and defensive line, and this guy's going to be the anchor of that defensive line for Iowa.
Yeah, and they have some good football players out there. You got to remember, for years and years, and going back many years, Iowa has produced some awfully good offensive linemen and defensive linemen, big kids. So my guess is that he's going to be everything that they built him up to be.
All right, Coach. Now back to the ACC at number 15 with Boston College running back A.J. Dillon.
Yeah, he's a good running back. I watched him. I saw him play a couple of times last year, just highlights of it. And I think he is probably he's certainly one of the better running backs in the country, and will be up there showcasing himself, I think, during the year. I think he's a good back.
All right, Coach, getting back into the SEC, back to the Crimson Tide, linebacker Dylan Moses is he's a big part of that Alabama defense, Coach. He's sitting here in the top 20 at number 16.
Yeah, and I think Alabama would say he's better than that 16. They like him there very much. I know that. So he can run, too. You're talking about those big, strong Alabama kids that can run. So I think they maybe would have him rated higher.
All right, Coach. Then at number 17, you've got Georgia offensive tackle Andrew Thomas.
We've talked about Thomas. He is a big guy, and he's also pretty mobile. They like him all the way across the board, is what I'm hearing, which makes him even more valuable. In other words, tackle, guard, even out to the left tackle position. So anyway, I think he's probably right where he should be, or if anything, maybe a little higher.
All right, Coach, and then we move to number 18. We go to Northwestern linebacker Patty Fisher. Coach, this is a guy through his first 2 seasons in college football has over 220 tackles. He's a physical linebacker at 6'4", 241. And Coach, this is your prototypical Northwestern-type football player.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't know that much about him, but I would bet he's going to be a heck of a player. Very intelligent player. One of those great hitters that you like, and give you all the calls on defense, everything you're looking for.
All right, Coach, and now we head to number 19. You've got Florida cornerback C.J. Henderson. Coach, when Marco Wilson went down with a knee injury last year in the Kentucky game, they needed somebody to step up in that secondary for the Gators, and C.J. Henderson was the guy. Had a big game defensively against Michigan in the Peach Bowl and was a big part of why Michigan was held in check throughout that game. And, Coach, he's sitting here at number 19. He's also expected to be, when 2020 gets here, a lot of people have him inside their top 10.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of publicity. An interesting thing we talk about him, he is the all-SEC, projected all-SEC teams. First and second team, there's only one Florida Gator player. There's a punter on there, the Florida's punter, second team defense. But there's only one on there, and that's second team defense with this kid. He's got more publicity than that nationally. So I would tend to think that the scouts have given quite a bit of input there, and they obviously like him.
All right, Coach, and then finally rounding out the top 20, we've got part of Clemson's 1-2 punch at the receiver position. Coach, it's T. Higgins, and he's that, like I said, part of that 1-2 punch with Justin Ross. And, Coach, T. Higgins is a guy that Trevor Lawrence is going to be relying on a lot this upcoming season.
And he is a first-class receiver, no doubt about it. Listen, they've got all the skilled people, and they have a good offensive line coming back. Now they lost a lot of defensive people, but they've also got a lot of good young defensive players coming back. They might have to score a little bit more this year, maybe another 5 to 6 points a game over last year, but they have the people to do it. Now this kid's an excellent receiver, and he could very well end up with that quarterback being much higher than that.
All right, Coach, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we'll be taking a look at the SEC West, as, again, it is SEC Media Day. So we're going to take a look at the SEC West. ESPN put out their mock SEC West prediction. We'll be taking a look at that and kind of giving our opinion of what they have to say when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Summer's here, and there's no better time to hit the road. At AutoZone, we've got the free services you need to drive with confidence, like our free AutoZone Fix Finder service. If your check engine light is on, our Fix Finder service will help troubleshoot the likely issue. And if you need help from a repair shop, we know some of the best. Want to maximize and restore lost fuel economy? Right now, buy 1 bottle of Chevron Techron Complete Fuel System Cleaner and get 1 free. Visit us at AutoZone.com and start the job fast with free same-day store pickup and free next-day delivery. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Tuesdays are the worst. They're all that stands between you and the downhill part of the week. But now they're a lot less worse, because Wing Tuesdays at B-Dubs are buy one, get one free traditional wings. So Monday, you may kick off the week. Wednesday, you may have a cool nickname. Thursday, you might be the almost weekend. But watch your back, because Tuesdays just officially became Wing Tuesdays. Buffalo Wild Wings. Roar!
Buy one traditional wings order and get one of equal value free. Participation and promotional details vary by location. Check in with your favorite Buffalo Wild Wings to learn more about this offer.
If you have frequent heartburn, take control of it with Prilosec OTC instead of stashing antacids everywhere, like in your junk drawer, buried under old batteries and hotel pens, or in your purse, hiding in the one pocket you won't check. You even have antacids on your nightstand, which are very hard to see in the dark. It's time you stopped stashing antacids and started taking Prilosec OTC. 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn.
It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days, not for immediate relief.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5. Welcome back into Talk Football with Coach K. I'm Jordan Glass. Joined alongside me, as always, Coach K. It's 12:34, and we're getting ready to talk a little SEC West football here. It's SEC Media Days. It's time for everybody to just kind of get out there and run their mouths about what they expect is going to happen. That's essentially what SEC Media Days is for. You've got 12 different people making different comments about the same team in the same group, all really not knowing what exactly is going to happen on the upcoming season. But, Coach, I want to take a look at ESPN's SEC West preview they have. And, by the way, this is posted on their college football page on ESPN.com. You can go check it out there. Coach, you take a look at this division. It's arguably, if not the toughest, one of the toughest inside college football. And, Coach, it's going to get even better this year with teams like LSU and Texas A&M expected to take that next step forward and be better football teams. But, Coach, you've got to start it off with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Obviously, a disappointing performance in the national title game earlier this year in January. They lose both offensive and defensive coordinators during the offseason. They have to replace that. But the good news is they're not going to be looking for another quarterback because they've got a pretty decent one coming back, one we were just talking about a moment ago, in Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, he lost 7 assistant coaches. They were bailing out all during the time that they were getting ready to play a national championship game. I don't know how it got so disruptive, but it did. And I think he's going to alleviate that for sure with some of his hires that he's made. Interestingly, he brought back, offensive coordinator from Atlanta, former Sarkisian, former USC Washington coach. That was interesting, little unexpected on my part for him to do that, but he did. There's a reason why. So we'll see how that works out. But I think, no question, Alabama should be at the top of that.
All right, Coach, we'll move through here again, and we'll take a look at the LSU Tigers now. Coach, they are heading into another season with Ed Orgeron as their head coach, Joe Burrow as the quarterback. But, Coach, it's going to be a new-look offense as they have brought in a new offensive coordinator there to help kind of revamp things. And we're going to get to something a little later on in the show talking about the running game and the game of football. But, Coach, one of the reasons LSU's kind of changing up their offense is their lack of success in running the football last year. And really that was LSU's bread and butter. They were a running football team. They wanted to run the ball down your throat each and every single game. It did not matter who they were playing. That's what their goal was, is to run the football at a high level. And, Coach, they haven't been able to do that the past couple of seasons, so they're kind of trying to change things up, want to spread things out this year, throw the ball around. Coach, It's an interesting take on it, but you got to look at LSU. While they are expected to be a better football team, it's all going to hinge on how that offense performs, especially with Joe Burrow at quarterback.
Well, let's look at the whole situation there. Actually, wanting to run the football on everybody has been going on at LSU for the last 100 years.
Right.
That's what their offensive philosophy has always been. Now, I think they could run into some problems here. They've got a guy in there who's spread them out now, and they're going to throw the football. And I think that's good if they can mix it with enough run to keep people honest. And with that defense, they should be, and they're going to be tough to beat, I'm telling you. But I think it could run into a problem with Coach O, because he's not going to like that ball in the air that much, I don't think. If anything goes wrong, I know how these coaches are. If they're so inclined to believe in the run game over the pass game, anything goes wrong at all, you get an interception or whatever, they're going to be over there in the ear of the offensive coordinator, run the football, blah, blah, blah. Don't throw it. And it's like some people say, well, there are three things that can go wrong when you throw the football. General Neyland said there were 7 things that could go wrong when you throw the football. So at any rate, I believe in throwing the football, but I believe in having a running game to go with it.
All right, Coach, and you take a look at this. The FBI projection for them as far as win totals is at 9.5 for the 2019 season. Coach, is that 9.5? Do you see that being right about where LSU should be, about 9 wins on the season, or do you think maybe this Tiger team could actually reach the double-digit win mark?
I think very, very well could reach the double-digit win mark. Now, a lot of it depends on how the quarterback does, whether he can handle this offensive system that they're bringing in, and whether they can sincerely live up to their expectation defensively.
All right, Coach, and then one last question for LSU. 10-3 a year ago, beat Central Florida in the Fiesta Bowl. Coach, the last thing that's put as far as LSU on this SEC West preview, it's an interesting question. It's an intriguing question. If Coach Orgeron keeps winning double-digit games and winning major bowl games, but does continue to not be able to beat Nick Saban in Alabama, will that still be enough for LSU, its administration, and its fans, or are they going to start kind of looking at him going, look, Coach, it's great that you're winning 10 games, it's great that you're winning 11 games, but you're still not beating the team that you need to beat inside the SEC West. And, Coach, do you think that starts being a problem for Coach Orgeron?
Could be. Let's face it. I mean, I think they're going to be happy with him for the most part, but you're going to have that contingent in the fan base out there that say, hey, we're good enough at LSU, and we're spending enough money here. We should win a national championship. If they can do it at Alabama, we can do it at LSU. I mean, that's going to be their posture. No doubt in my mind about that. So that being the case, yeah, he will eventually run into some problems if he can't beat Alabama.
All right, Coach, let's head now to our next team, and it's going to be the Auburn Tigers. And, Coach, if you look at the Auburn Tigers, they're almost the mirror image of what we see with the Georgia Bulldogs inside the SEC East. And what I mean by that is they're a talented football team, but there's just a lot of question marks across the board, especially offensively. Look, Coach, we don't really know what we're going to see from Auburn offensively. Are they going to stick with that RPO-type offense that they've ran in the past? Are they going to open up the passing game more like we saw against Purdue in the bowl game when Gus Malzahn had the play-calling ability? Who's going to be the quarterback? What are we going to get from the receiver and the running back position from Auburn? Coach, there's so many questions here for the Tigers heading into 2019. And also you add in the presser that Gus Malzahn has to have a successful season this year. If he has a mediocre season at best, or this team just underperforms in games and loses to 1 or 2 teams that they should beat like they did last year with Tennessee at home in Auburn, Coach, this could be the last year that Gus Malzahn has that job there in Auburn, or it could be a year that saves his job.
Well, you're so right. He was under the gun last year, and I'll tell you, if he had not had that contract, he would have been gone last year, according to the Auburn people that I know who were pretty much involved in the athletic program. Now, take a look at Auburn. See, I think a better team than Auburn is Texas A&M. I think maybe Texas A&M has surpassed Auburn. If you look at the Auburn program, their quarterback's gone. Malzahn is going to take the play calling back. That's been an up and down, peaks and valley type situation for a while. And I just don't think Auburn is going to be consistent enough overall to play in that Western Division of the SEC and maintain a winning record. I mean, a record that will enable them to play against Alabama, Texas A&M. They've got to play Georgia. They've got to play Florida this year. They got a tough schedule. I think they've got some problems. I really do. And the Oregon opening game against Oregon, I think is going to be very interesting. And I go back, and we'll be talking about that a lot more here as the next few days and weeks roll on. But I really think, Jordan, that game is going to be very instrumental in how each one of these two teams finish the year. And look at the quarterback situation with Herbert there. If he comes out as a big game against Auburn, he could be on the way to the Heisman Trophy. So, and they're going to be in better shape for the playoffs, no doubt about it. They're in a conference that's not as tough out there right now, the Pac-12. So Oregon could go on and walk in with the Pac-12 and get in the playoffs. So it's a huge game, and it's gonna affect Auburn to a great extent too. If they lose to Oregon, I think they got a rough road to hoe. Let's put it that way.
All right, Coach. And for Auburn, we talked about this a little bit as well, that this is a season for Gus Malzahn. It has to be considered a success, or he's possibly more than likely going to lose his job. Coach, I know this is kind of a tough question to ask here, but what is a win total for the Auburn Tigers that you look at as a safe spot for Gus Malzahn to still be able to keep his job? Do you see an 8-5 season being another 8-5 season like they were a year ago? Do you see that being enough for him to keep his job, or is it a pressure situation to where he has to go out and basically win 9-10 games if he wants to keep his job?
I think he may have to win 10 games to keep his job. I don't think 8-5 will do it. That's just my opinion. Which really doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot, but I would guess that would be the case.
All right, Coach. Let's move now to Mississippi State inside the SEC West, because, Coach, this is a very, very interesting football team to look at. I think a lot of people are going to look at them and go, okay, they're on the decline. Dan Mullen leaves to go take the job at Florida. Joe Moorhead comes in. His first season is not necessarily anything to write home about. 8-5 on the year last year. But, Coach, they've got a transfer quarterback coming in from Penn State, and this is a guy that could be a game changer. We've talked about him the past couple of weeks, Coach. This is a guy that has got the ability to throw the ball all around the ballpark and be a dangerous quarterback. And if that's the case, and he is starting for Mississippi State this year, we could be looking at a team that could disrupt some things inside the SEC West.
Well, it was a disappointing year for Joe Moorhead. They were expected to win 2 or 3 more ball games than they did. I tell you, there are a lot of people that felt that they maybe should have won at least 10 ball games last year, and I think they probably could have too. Their defense was outstanding. They had an offense that was based on the run more, but was well constructed. And now with the new quarterback, Jordan, I'm getting yes and no on the new quarterback. Everything I heard from the Manning camp over here with a little inside information, and what we read was that he had an outstanding camp and was very impressive, throwing the ball all over the field, drilling it in there, had touch, and so on. What I heard from very good source who knew him at Penn State, actually from Jim Haslett and his son, was that this kid has a terrible throwing motion. It's not very accurate. Now that could be. Listen, I don't ever until I've seen the quarterback. I really don't put a lot of. I don't really trust a lot of quarterback ratings from people because I've heard too many stories when I look at a quarterback. I either like him when they don't or don't like him when they do. So I think it's still up in the air as to how good this kid is. If he's as good as we heard over there, yeah, he's going to make a difference because he is a guy that can make things happen, and he can throw the football. But we're going to have to wait and see how that happens. Now, he's Mississippi State not going to have it as the same opportunity as they did last year. But Moorhead could be in trouble, and I hear some rumors about, well, maybe he's in line for the Pittsburgh job. I don't know.
All right, Coach, and we'll now move from Mississippi State to Texas A&M. Coach, the Aggies, this is one of those teams that is expected to be kind of it's 50-50 depending on who you ask, really, with the Aggies. And Texas A&M and Florida are kind of in the same boat. Two teams that had good years last year. I think probably did a little bit better than most people expected for them a year ago. But for 2019, some people see them taking a step back. Some people see them taking a step forward. Coach, the Texas A&M Aggies here, you've got Kellen Mond returning as your quarterback. You've got Jimbo Fisher there. You're going to be more established inside Jimbo Fisher's systems and what he wants to do. And, Coach, for both Florida and Texas A&M, it's going to be one of those situations. You make the biggest improvements from year one to year two, both heading into year two. For the Aggies, Coach, I'm one of the people that I see them taking that next step forward, and they're going to be a team that, let's not forget, they did play Alabama close in the first half, and they did have almost an opportunity to beat Clemson inside the fourth quarter. And while it's not horseshoes and almost and close does not count, but, Coach, this was still a team that was in those ball games. They played rough. They played tough last year. And, Coach, despite the fact that they have a hellacious schedule ahead of them in 2019, maybe not quite bad as Auburn, but still pretty bad, Coach, Texas A&M could be a team that surprises some people.
You bet they could. I like this Texas A&M team, and I will tell you they're only going to get better over the next few years. They've got an ideal situation there. Yeah, I like Alabama, maybe Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M, or even Alabama. I wouldn't argue with Alabama, Texas A&M, LSU, with Auburn coming in after that. But I really like this A&M team. But, boy, you're right. Do they have a tough schedule and have to go to Clemson? But Clemson better beware. They could get nipped on that.
All right, Coach, how about our next team inside the SEC West? These last two teams we're going to be talking about, teams that are expected to be kind of around the bottom. And last year, 5-7 was the record for Ole Miss. Coach, they are coming back into this season, and not much is expected from them. I think if you look at their S&P projections as well as their FPI projections, most see them at around 5.5 to 6 wins on the season. Coach, I think if you're an Ole Miss Rebel fan and you get to 6-6 in 2019, you got to be happy about that.
Probably so. They get a bowl game out of it. You know, these bowl games are ridiculous now. You've heard me talk about it. But to get 6 wins and go to a bowl is repulsive. But anyway, 6 wins, I think you're right, would be a good year for him. Now, they've done some interesting things. He's a young coach. He played there, and he's brought in, for example, Rich Rodriguez in as the offensive coordinator. You better be careful with bringing some of these guys in like that. But he also brought another head coach in as a defensive coordinator. So he's got some people he can lean on if he wants to for advice. But don't turn too much over to him. They'll have your job.
You are absolutely right there, Coach, especially Rich Rod. He's known for that. And, Coach, it does help that they do have Matt Corral coming back as their quarterback. So maybe Ole Miss can get things turned around and get to that 6, maybe even a 7-win mark for them on the year. Coach, last year, this final team, Arkansas, 2-10 on the year. Coach, expected to be a little bit better, but not too much. Their S&P projection is 5.5 wins. Their FPI is 4.8 wins. Coach, I think when we looked at their schedule, we actually had them winning, I want to say it was around 7 ball games. So, Coach, can this Arkansas team have that big of a step forward and that big of a turnaround in 2019?
No, I don't think so. Jordan, I don't think we had them winning that. I think we had them only winning 2 or 3 ball games, period. I really do. As I go back through, we can go back through it at some point, but no, I don't see them being too much better. Maybe 3 or 4 ball games. But they're not to the point yet. Now, the one caveat that you have to remember is that they're going to be a passing football team. And if you can do that and protect your quarterback and get people open to throw the ball to, you can beat some people that you shouldn't beat. And I can give many examples of this. The best one of all is Florida State, going back many years to when they're a small college football team. They play Mississippi Southern and Samford and teams like that. And Bill Peterson came in, and they started playing major colleges. But he went out to San Diego and got involved with the Sid Gilman system of throwing the football. Brought in some quarterbacks and some receivers, Blitnikoff, Steve Tinsey, and they started throwing the football down there. And it got to the point that they were beating these very good football teams, because back then people did knew less in the way of stopping the pass than they do now. So that's just a good example of how the passing game, and I bring that up because that could happen with Arkansas, not to that extent, but it could happen that they could be a tougher out than people think at this point.
All right, Coach. Well, we'll take our final timeout of the show. When we come back, we'll be wrapping things up. It's Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
All right, it's time for some straight talk. You wouldn't pay $100 for seats to a baseball game where you can get the same seats for $50. So why pay more on your wireless when you can get the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost? For $45 a month, get our unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data from Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. If you're tailgating before the game, don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT, and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. I'm Jordan Glass, joined alongside me as always, Coach K. Coach, just a little bit of time left in today's show. Want to go over some headlines real quick. Coach, you take a look at the NFL. Looks like Jadeveon Clowney and the Houston Texans are going to be unable to reach an agreement by the 3 o'clock deadline today. And, Coach, you said early in the show that you believe there are some sources out there that you've talked to that say that they're not going to reach a deal, that he's probably either going to play or not play this year for Houston, and more than likely 2020 season be somewhere else.
I don't think. Now, they may try to sign him before the 2020 season, or depending on what they do with him there. They could trade him. They could do a number of things. But I think he's going to play on that franchise tag this year. The word is that his work habit does not meet his talent.
All right, Coach, and SEC Media Days underway now. We're awaiting Dan Mullen to get to the podium there for the Florida Gators. Coach, what are you looking to hear from either one particular coach or just maybe the landscape of the SEC? What's something you're looking to hear about for the SEC Media Days?
I think it's going to be interesting talking with Florida. How do they what are their plans for the quarterback position? Because there are some people that believe the way I do that they may have lucked out the last 4 games of the year with Franks last year. Kentucky, how do they come back from a great year last year and they lose those people? Now Kentucky can't reload every year like Alabama, Clemson, some of those other teams. So it's going to be another 2 or 3 years.
All right. Well,
they don't know that. I'm not saying they're going to know these things, but there are certain questions that would be interesting.
All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in to Talk Football with Coach K. For Coach K, I'm Jordan Glass.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 945. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season.